In September 2024, Apple released their new Apple Watch lineup during the Apple Glow Time event. Currently, that's the Apple Watch Series 10 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2. If you're confused and you're thinking, wasn't the Apple Watch Ultra 2 released last year in 2023? Yes, you're right. I want to show you both watches, tell you what the differences are, and talk about my experience after using both watches for a month. If you're on the fence between these two, I think this video is going to help you decide which one you should get. So let's kick things off with the Apple Watch Ultra 2. It was released last year in 2023, and on 2024, the only two differences are now it comes in a new color, and there's a new loop. So first, let's talk about the color. The Apple Watch Ultra 2 now comes in black, and let me tell you, when I first saw it during the event, I thought it looked amazing. I've been waiting for a black version of the Apple Watch Ultra for a long time, but after seeing it in real life and using it for a month, I think I prefer the original natural color. I think it looks better, or at least more premium. And please don't get me wrong, the new Apple Watch Ultra 2 in black looks great, it's just that in real life, I don't think it looks as impressive as I thought it would be. Initially, I thought that using a different band or loop might make a difference, but honestly, I think the issue is with the watch itself. The new color doesn't let you appreciate the design and the little details of the watch. To me, it doesn't really look like an $800 watch, but I know looks are subjective. Speaking of bands and loops, this brings me to the second thing Apple released during the event. That's a new Milanese loop, and that one looks very premium. Now on their website, they say it features aerospace-grade titanium mesh and a secure parachute-style buckle. The mesh is inspired by divers and designed for ocean activities. It is a little bit on the expensive side because it's $200 if you buy it separately. So if you're thinking about getting this specific band, I suggest you get it when you buy the watch in the first place, because that way it only costs $100. But that's pretty much it for the new Apple Watch Ultra 2. Now moving on to the Apple Watch Series 10. There's a few features that I'm very excited about. But for context, the last Apple Watch I used was the Series 6, which I kept for a few years, and then I moved to a Garmin Forerunner 965, the one with the fancy screen. The new Series 10 is now slimmer than the previous version and definitely thinner than the Apple Watch Ultra 2. And because it now sits closer to your wrist, I'm thinking maybe this is going to help those people that keep bumping their watches against corners and walls. It also has an upgraded speaker. They made it smaller so it can now fit the smaller chassis, but now it can play media out loud so you can listen to music or a podcast from your watch. And I think it does a decent job, but honestly, in the month I've had it, I've only used it for testing purposes. Now the display is larger. In fact, it's supposed to be a little bit larger than the Ultra's display, but it's just hard to tell because they're so different. The display on the Apple Watch Series 10 has a little curve on the edges of the screen, and the display on the Ultra is completely flat. Not only that, but the Series 10 is all display, so the rounded edges are part of the display, making it more exposed, while the flat screen on the Apple Watch Ultra is protected by a little frame on the bezels. But you shouldn't worry because the display on both of these watches is absolutely beautiful. They're crisp and bright, and you won't have any issues looking at your watch even if you're outside in broad daylight. And finally, fast charging. Apple claims their new Series 10 can go from 0 to 80% battery charge in 30 minutes, and I think this is a noticeable improvement over the 0 to 80% in 45 minutes of the Series 7, 8, and 9, but not enough to upgrade just because of this. Apple claims the watch can last 18 hours on normal use and up to 36 hours on low power mode. Now, what I've been seeing over the past month after using these watches is they're being very conservative with those numbers because I've been able to get over 18 hours of use on a single charge regularly. Now, the software. Both watches can now run the latest watchOS 11, where Apple introduced sleep apnea detection, vitals app, and training load. The sleep apnea detection identifies disturbances in your breathing while you sleep, and it is available on the Apple Watch Series 10, the Series 9, and the Apple Watch Ultra 2. The vitals app and training load were highly requested features. Specifically, training load is one of my favorite features from the Garmin watches, so I'm glad Apple brought it to their smartwatches. The Vitals app gives you an overview of your vitals during your sleep. Vitals like heart rate, respiratory rate, wrist temperature, and sleep duration. And Training Load compares the intensity and duration of your workouts over the last 7 days to what you've done over the previous 28 days. You should be able to use this as a guide to see if you should push harder on your next workout or if maybe you should cut back and get some rest. To round things up, compared to their respective versions from last year, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 now comes in black and has a new Milanese loop. Everything else is pretty much the same, even the chip. The Apple Watch Series 10, on the other hand, has a new larger display, upgraded speakers, fast charging, a new processor. It is thinner and the display is brighter when you see it at an angle. Now, as far as prices go, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 starts at $799 or $899 if you go with the Milanese loop, and the Series 10 starts at $399, $429 if you go with the larger display. But if you want the more durable titanium version of the Series 10, then you're looking at $699 or $749 if you go with the larger display. So now the question is, which one should you get? But before I tell you, please take a second to scroll down and hit the like button. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting more tech videos with reviews and tutorials. Now, after using both watches for a month, here's my recommendation. For most people, get the Apple Watch Series 10. It is great. The UI is very fast, the display looks amazing, it looks beautiful on the wrist, the black one is my favorite, but all the other colors are great too. It is very light and you won't even notice it. And plus it has all the latest and greatest features. My favorite feature was by far the fast charging. It just makes it incredibly easy to keep your watch charged at all times. On that note, if you're coming from a recent version of the Apple Watch like the Series 8 or 9, I don't really think you need to upgrade unless you really want the larger display. So who should get the Apple Watch Ultra 2? I think it is primarily for people looking for a rugged, very durable watch and don't mind the bulky chassis. This alone makes it worth it, at least for me, because I'm not very careful with my watches. And with the Apple Watch Ultra, I don't even have to worry about it. It is also for people that want to be able to charge their watches every couple of days. Or people that want the endurance and adventure features of the watch, like the siren, the 100-meter water resistance, the dual band GPS, and the nighttime mode. And personally, I would go for the natural color rather than this new black version, but that's just a matter of preferences. Now, I hope this video was helpful, and thanks for watching.